Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today we find ourselves on the Fulda Gap and we're going to be doing a little bit of a map analysis talking about this map. Now the reason why it's taken so long to do this map analysis is because I like to at least play a few games on a map before I actually look at it in a video point of view or a video context, because the reason is I don't just want to have a look around the map and just be like, well, this is a decent position, this is a decent position, because the thing is there may be counters or there may be things that I don't see, and therefore, you must kind of press on and talk about them as well. So after gaining some experience on the map itself, after talking to a lot of high ranked players, it seems like there's more of a consensus about how this map works. So there's two prevailing theories, basically. One is the fact that if you get into a lower tier match, let's say rank 3 match or a low rank 4 match, then this map is generally a bit too large. But when it comes to rank 6, which is what this map was designed to do, it's not too large. It's actually a decent size to it. And the reason for this is because you have MBT, KPZs, Blaguette Panzers, BMPs, all of these wonderfully fast and armored machines running around like nobody's business. So it's basically, do you have enough speed to be able to get to point A and point B and all of this, or is it going to take you 10 minutes to get somewhere and then get killed? And yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. So from a point of view of looking at this map from a rank 5 or rank 6 game, it's a really fun map. And from a rank 3, a rank 4 or even lower, it can be incredibly frustrating unless you're in a Hellcat. So we're going to take it from the point of view of a rank 5 or rank 6 game, which is going to be the majority of the time you actually play on this map. Playing lower tier tanks, I haven't actually seen this map this much. It seems on pretty much the same percentage probability as like something like Kursk. So yeah, it's much more of a rank 5-6 map, which it was designed to be, so that's nice to see. The first thing that we have to talk about is the majority of the ground is pretty much light terrain. This means that there isn't a lot of heavy mud around, so going across it in most vehicles is very easy to do. It's actually pretty much labeled as hard terrain. You can tell by the fact that there isn't any real track marks made, not just because of the fact that there's a lot of foliage everywhere. If you look at the road there, we've made very small marks on it, but that's about it. Basically, if you're trying to work out if it's heavy terrain, light terrain, hard terrain, soft terrain, the way to do it is to look at how your tracks, pierce the ground. So if this was like heavy terrain, like mud or something, you would see a much larger, I don't know what you'd call it, but basically a much larger indent in the ground, whereas that's just not the case with this map all over it. So when it comes to maneuverability, the ground itself lends itself massively to be able to maneuver around, and that's a good thing because it's such a large map in general. So that's generally nice to see. Let's just put a shot into that, just why not. Another thing that is interesting, talking about this box here, is that pretty much all of the buildings on this map you can actually destroy. There is only a few dotted buildings around, such as this one over here. There are a few spots where you can use buildings to your advantage, but generally the buildings are not that useful. Pretty much the only place they are kind of useful is around this area, back here a little bit, and of course around A as well. But something you have to understand is all of these farm buildings over here, you can actually shoot straight through them and also destroy them. It's actually really fun to do it, to be honest. You can even ram them down if you want. They are also nice positions for sniping tank destroyers. I have seen many Jagdtigers sit behind these little houses here. Something to also note is these houses can get absolutely annihilated by artillery, and therefore if you are struggling with a tank who is basically corner peeking this house and you're not sure where you can shoot it or not, the best thing to do is just to drop artillery on it, and then it will be destroyed, as you can see here, and you'll be able to see the tank on the other side. So we'll just destroy this a little bit, and just show you. So let's say we have a guy here who is sat just around about here. A better example is actually this one down here, so we'll actually go to that instead, because that's a viable position for tank destroyers which have a little bit of armor. Something that you'll see from quite slow tank destroyers is on this side of the map, they'll sit around back here. So if you are approaching A or B from this point, it is always a good idea to keep an eye around the F2, E2 area, because there is normally something just around here waiting for you. If you're looking for quicker tanks around this area and you're approaching from the right hand side, the best thing to keep an eye on is the one line and then around, because as you can see there is a little bluff here that they can use to do that with. So this is a barn which you can sit behind and look over the field. You can also, if you like, sit like here, right? So you can cover A. Not great, but in a decent way. But the first thing you can do is cover all the reinforcements coming into A from both of the spawns. At the same time, if B's taken, you can swivel around and attack this area, which is where they will be coming from. But I just want to show you that if you know somebody's behind here, which will happen quite a lot, it will be like a Jagdtiger or a T-95, or even something like an ISU 122, what you'll find is this building can be destroyed, and it can be destroyed by artillery as well. It may take a few hits to take it out, but it will happen, and you can use those shots as a kind of, if you want, marking tools. Right, so let's just hit the last one here. There we go. So by doing that, you can destroy the whole structure of the house, and by the way, it looks beautiful when destroyed. And there is no way any tank destroyer from rank 6 or rank 5 will be able to hide behind this here. They'll have to be exposed, and therefore you can use stuff from long range such as Sabo and AP-FDS to deal with them. So there are dotted houses around the place. Now if you're in quite a nippy tank and you're going towards somewhere like A or B, you generally don't have to worry about people setting up before you get to A or B, because it will take them too long to be able to do so. If you're in a slightly slower tank, then of course it will make quite a lot of a difference because of that. You will have to basically be very wary of tanks being in those positions, as I've shown. So basically just check the houses, and also on top of this ridge here. There will be at least 1 or 2 tanks, in my experience always been British, and what they do is they are able to just snipe from this little hill here, or this one up here, and be able to look down on top of all of A and shoot down while also covering B. We'll go to that position in a little bit, but I just want to show you the one-line position that people will take that you have to be wary of. So, in my experience, rank 4 RU-251s take this road quite a lot, because you have coverage from this little tree line here to be able to go around. So what you do is you push all the way over here, sit behind this little tree line, and as you can see, you are pretty much covered completely, even in quite a large tank. You can go down the hill. Let's just go over here. And this will take a long time for a lot of drivers, but generally people use it because you don't have to go all the way, you just have to go a little bit, you don't have to go fully down the hill. And there's all of this map over here which isn't actually used, which is kind of sad, but it is how it is. You can't make it as large as possible. So you can go to this position here, and from this position you can look at that house, which is a common place that people will sit behind. There is also over at A, you can have a look at A. Unfortunately the trees are in the way. You can basically look into where the enemies are coming from, but the rolling hills make it so you can't look all the way, which is really nice, and also the forestry bit as well. So you push across here. As you can see, you can see A from this position. Generally people won't be looking this way, they'll be looking over to here and over to here. So you can generally sneak around if you don't want to shoot. You do have to be wary of it though. And then you get to this nice little crest here. Now from the other side, the red side in this example, and I'm just going to cut the bots off because the bots seem to be absolutely owning everything. I'll just do that real quick. But basically from the other side they can do exactly the same thing. and that is completely fine. But it's just something you're going to have to be wary of. So let's... Wait, I can't lower the bots. I used to be able to lower the bots. Did they change that? If so, that's incredibly annoying. Alright, anyway. Alright, let's see if that works. But anyway, back to the map. If you are on the top side of the map, and getting to that hill, from that hill you can look pretty much into the enemy spawns. The reason why this is good is so you can knock off reinforcements that come in. But because Fulda is so large, it is one of those maps where the first kill, or the first spawn, is very, very important in doing your job, basically. If you're able to do your job from a point of view of killing the enemy team, then the majority of the time you will be in good stead to win the battle. So let's go forward. There we go. So all the bots should be in planes now, so they can't capture points. But let's go over here, back to where I was before. So the area where I was talking about was pretty much here. You can see the contour lines here, showing that there is a hill represented. If you just sit around this area, you're able to easily shoot into A7, look at also C9, and cover the whole of A and cover some of B, but majorly cover this road here. This road here is a massive fighting point, and a lot of the time you will find that people will use this as a sticking block to cover A and B. So let's say you wholly take C from your team's point of view, and then your team decides to push B. That's completely fine. The areas that they have to watch out for is the castle, this area over here, and also this line of hills, because there will be at least one or two people waiting for the guys to push over from C if they decide not to go for the base. Well, that means that once you push B, you're going to have to constantly be looking at this area, because there will be one or two people. In my most recent experience, it was an M103 and a couple of Hellcats which would just hold down here, and the reason for that is because you can easily take out enemies from either side and just go after them. Alright, so let's just quickly go over here back to the position where I was before. You can tell even in something like a M46, now I don't think I have the final engine upgrade on it, but it will take you time to get across the map. And that means that because of the fact it will take you a long time to get anywhere, what you'll find a lot of the time, unless you're playing really high tier stuff, is snowballing happens a lot. So whoever wins that initial engagement in an area pretty much just takes that area. And it's kind of a sad thing, but because the map is so large, it means that you have the ability to, let's say you lose around A, right? Let's say you lose around A and they push through. That gives you the whole ability to attack C and B from a positive point of view. So one of the issues with a map like Berlin is the fact that Berlin is incredibly small when it comes to its fighting zones. And if you are able to take one or two of those positions, then you've pretty much won the map and are able to push through, because once you've taken them, you can look into the enemy spawns, and they don't have any other ways to get out of their spawn apart from one back road, which is easy to hold by one tank. So what happens is you get cornered incredibly quickly. On a map like Fulda, you can lose that initial battle, and as long as you realize that that battle in that section is lost, you can go to a separate area of the map and try and enforce your guys which are in that position, and you can be a lot more useful to your team instead of just being sat there getting killed over and over again. Now, this means that there has to be a difference in playstyle when it comes to maps like Fulda, And I'm sure people will eventually adapt, but what I've seen so far is people go into places like A or B, get a couple of kills, but lose the overall battle, and then they spawn in and they try and take A or B once again. No, you have to focus your efforts on a separate point. It is as simple as that, because the map is too large for the enemy team to not consolidate their positions in time for you to get back there. So we're back where I was in the MBT, and as you can see, there's a ridgeline here, which looks over A. Now from the pink side, it is very easy for the pinkers to be able to sit in this area and use it as a great place to get hull down and to shoot over. So if I'm in my M46, I just sit here. I'm pretty close to A, so seeing enemies from A is quite easy. I can see up to the hill. I can see to that quite favourite sniping spot of a lot of people near that house over there. I can also shoot here, which is another place where a lot of people will sit, basically that town I was talking about before, where you will find like 1 or 2 people. By the way, if you are looking at that town and looking for people, if you're 5 to 10 minutes into a map, they'll be working their way along this line here that you can see in my scope. By the time you hit like the 5 or 10 minute mark and they haven't been killed, they're going to move to like here in this area. So that is something to take into account. Let's just kill this guy real quick. Damn it. Shot through a house. But anyway, let's just sit back here. So yeah, this place, you can easily get hull down, and you can just wait. It's also quite hard to see this position from other areas. I'm running on max graphics right now, which is generally what I play on nowadays. But I know a lot of people play on medium and low. It's still hard to see this position from this area, just because of how the shadows work, and also because of the trees and the foliage. Now, you can pretty much turn the foliage off, but you can't really turn the trees off anymore. So, from this position, you can get hull down, which, you know, is generally where your strongest armor is, and getting to this position from the pink side can be kind of rough unless you do it from the start of the match. So, as the green team, this is the position you want to push to, because you will find people here, you take them out, and then A is secure. It does leave you open to tank destroyers, which will probably sit over here, so you've got to be careful of that. And also there are some houses that people can sit around, but generally they're not going to. They're going to push to this area here and try and hold A from it. But let's go to a few positions on the pink side, because I think the pink side I have enjoyed much more playing. That isn't a slight on the other side, it's just a personal preference. I think this map is actually pretty balanced overall. Let's go to here. So one of the positions I've been getting quite a lot of success on is right here. And the reason for this is because using this hill, whoop, just moving back slightly, because I'm on the wrong bit of the hill. It's just a BT5 wandering about. I wish the bots would stop capturing the spawns, but what can you do? This position here, because you actually have frontal cover, if you sit here, around this area, you can expose yourself to basically what you want. So if you're at the start of a battle, and you know that the enemy is going to be coming from A through that back road, you can sit here, wait for the tank destroyer who's going to turn up here, or he's going to turn up over there, or you can focus your efforts over here, on this road, and wait for the enemies to push down this road, and they try and take this town, take a few pot shots, and then you can move up if you want to. From this position, it's kind of easy to get to that nice little position I talked about over there. And also, if you are in a slightly quick vehicle, like it doesn't have to be that fast, you can get to here without any real issues. If you're in something like a Jag Tiger or a T95, yeah, you're going to struggle. But apart from that, you should be okay. One of the things about Fulda is because it's so large, I do actually recommend using binos on this, not binos, using the binoculars in a measuring range type of view. So as you can see, I'm a measuring range of this target, and it's greater than 100, so, you know, it is how it is. That's not great on this map. for this vehicle, but in the lot higher vehicles you have much better measuring range finders, or optics I should say. So doing stuff like that is incredibly useful. So you can beeline it from the top spawn position to this area, to the next area, and you can also go around as well if you feel like it, but I don't think there's a need to. Shooting people from range in this game is quite hard to do unless you're in something like an ATGM launcher, so you do have to watch out for that. There's also a few crevices back here that you can sit behind, but I feel like they're too far away for you to, in order to be effective in the battle on the A side, which is definitely not too good. So if you're in this position here and you're fighting through this forest, yeah, generally you've already lost this side, so pretty much just give it up and go for a different position. There's no point in trying to fight a losing battle on this map. You will lose unless somehow the enemy team has like 4 crippled tanks and you're just kind of sat there, especially at like rank 6 where, you know, snowballing is a massive thing in the game. So yeah, that's just a tip, which in general will work on a lot of maps, but on Fulda I think it's exemplified by the fact that it's so large. Let's move and have a look at the little area down here that I talked about, the town down here. Hopefully nobody captures anything, I'm sure they will. But the town down here is one of the parts of the map which favors the green side, and this is basically because of how you're able to get there. So from this end you have to climb a little bit of a hill and then go across a straight passage, which is once again still on this nice terrain, so you don't really have to worry about too much stuff, and you have to hit this road up here. Now that's okay, you have full cover while going up this road and getting to the little town up here, but the problem is if the enemy decides to rush B, which is easier to do from the green side because you basically just have to go and beeline straight to it. It's a lot harder to do from this side because there's a few more rolling hills in the way, and also you open yourself up to a ridge line which is sat like here. Now the other side does have a ridge line which is about here, as you can see, but generally it takes the green side a lot less time to be able to get there, and if you're talking about rank 6 vehicles with KPZs and MBTs running around, yeah, they're going to be there in about 5 minutes of the match. So that is something to worry about. Hello Panzer 2C. And yes, of course, my team is capturing a... Oh no, they're not capturing it anymore. Well, that's nice. And I'm on the wrong road. So you get to around about this position here. Just a bit further down if you want. And you can just beeline it straight to the town, which is here. Now, by the time you get to the town on this side, the enemy will have got to about here. They won't get there first, but what the enemy can do is get to A first. And it isn't a deal of, well, they have the faster tanks, it's just easier from the green side to get to A compared to the right hand side, because they just have to go down a hill. And you have a slight hill, but it's not as good. So, from the red side, you can just get to this town and fight from it if you want. The issue is you are sandwiched, so it's one of those risk-reward scenarios. So if you get here and your team either conquers A or B, you're in a great place. You're in an absolutely wonderful place, because it means that you can attack just one of the sides and not have to worry about the other one. So let's say, you know, you take A and your team's pushing through. You can sit in like a position like this, and you know, you can shoot at B in a really lovely hold down position. Like this is perfect when you talk about, you know, sitting and trying to kill targets. And let's say conversely, let's say A has not been taken, the enemy team has taken it, and B is flooded with allies. Well, once again, you have plenty of positions here near these houses where you can sit behind and just wait and kill stuff which tries to cross the field, or kill anything on A. But if the enemy takes both B and A and a lot of your team moves to C, you have serious issues. Or maybe they just don't push hard enough on B and A, then you are sandwiched between two major forces, and all you're going to try and do is try and stay alive for as long as you can and spot targets. And I talked about the M103 before and the Hellcats. This is basically what happened to them. They pushed along the road from the green side, got to this area in about 5 or 10 minutes, and by that time, what happened was our team had taken A and B and they were sandwiched. There was nothing that could be done. They were just destroyed because they couldn't do anything, so all they had to do was hunker down and try and get kills. And, you know, that's fine in general, but you're not going to win the match that way. Let's just try something else. I don't understand. Like, if I don't include bots, it won't let me start the battle. I'm pretty sure. Yup. Oh, dearie me, why did they take it off the fact that you could include like 1 or 2 bots? That was like perfect for me. I have no idea why they've done that. But it doesn't matter. It's just kind of annoying, you know? What's this? Like, I have to include bots, but I can't limit the number that there are. But anyway, let's get back into it. So yeah, you can sit in that town, but if you get flanked, you're just stuck there. And you can't fight your way out. The only thing you can really do is hope that the people at B just ignore you, fight A, get down the hill, get to A, get a domination point, and then if the people at B are clever, what they will do is they will pull down from B to A, use the positions where you were in, and just crucify you. If they're not clever, you get away with it. But generally, if we're talking about rank 5 or 6, they are not silly. Like, the general player is very skilled. So therefore, or not very skilled, but at least understands the game at some fundamental levels. So yeah, that is something you're going to have to get to grips with. So it really is a risk-reward. If you think your team is able to take A or B in a massive sense, then go for it. Take that little town from either side. If you feel like your team is struggling, you're going to have to change course and you're going to have to reinforce them at either A or B and then move to that area if you like it. At the whole time, as I said, people on the green side, they can just take this road and they can pummel you at A from it and then move to the houses and absolutely screw you. So it's just something you have to take into account if you're moving from the pink side to that. B is an interesting area. I personally don't favor it. When I use this map, or when I'm on this map, I favor A, and I also favor around C. B is kind of a no-go zone for me, and the reason for this is because at higher tiers, wonderful ATGMs exist, and because of that, people are able to loop shots over a lot of these rolling hills, so if you don't get to B in the first few minutes of a match, you're going to be pretty much killed very quickly. Let's say at, not at your spawn, but just getting to B. You have to be quick about it. Thanks for the info, Gaijin. I wonder why they've turned on all these help things. But anyway, so what I like about B is it has been something that I've talked about a very long time in War Thunder and something that it needs, and that's this idea of rolling hills. When they redid Kuban, they emphasized rolling hills in the center of the map, and they've pretty much done the same thing on Fulda. And I think that's a really nice way of doing it, because it's the same as like trenches, right? So if you create a game and it has multiple trenches on it, what you basically get is an idea of advancement and also a way to move forward in a desperate zone and then move forward to a secure zone. So let's use this as an example to kind of show that. Let's just move back here. So around B on both sides, it is kind of symmetrical how it works. but not really symmetrical in landscape. It is slightly different. Let's say you're here, right? In this position. So you can use your binos to have a look at the other side. And maybe there's somebody over here. You can see trees falling. You can see all of this. Maybe somebody's pushed B. But you push forward because you don't see anyone. Maybe there's somebody over there. You take a pot shot down there. But you push forward. And it takes you around 10-15 seconds in order to get into this dip here. And if you get into this dip, then you are covered from all of the enemies which are pushing to B or pushing the castle. So that's the trench. So where we were before, that was a trench. This is your secondary trench. If you're able to sit in this trench, you're pretty much safe from all sides and you're able to push forward. So let's do it again. So you push forward, you don't see anybody on this hill, which is highly unlikely, I just say, but let's say you don't see anyone, and then you push. There's nobody at B, you're able to push, and another 10 or 15 seconds of driving, you are in another dip, or another trench. So there's this idea of progression, getting across the area, while also having some danger zones, and also having some safe zones. Even from this dip here, you may think, oh, well, people can attack me. Yeah, if they're on B, but from the castle, it's kind of hard to attack you. And then you go over here. Let's say there's nobody over there, there's nobody over there, you check all of your corners and everything, you push forward, and you have another dip. This is why rolling hills are really cool and really important in a game like War Thunder, because it means that there is defense and offense involved in the same thing. If you just have one brick wall, and that brick wall, there's enemies sat behind it, and you have to go through it in order to advance, it's very favorable to the defensive position. With rolling hills, it's much more balanced. It still favors the defensive position, but it gives a massive benefit to the guys who are trying to be offensive. It means that they don't have to go across a flat plane, and if they go across the flat plane, they know that they're going to die. It means that there are breakups of that flat plane so you can push around. If Fulda Gap had a completely flat center, it would be a miserable map. But because they've improved it by adding these rolling hills, it means that you aren't able to get shot constantly. So the way to take B is to conquer the rolling hills. That's pretty much it. And it works for both sides. As I said, it's not particularly symmetrical, but the ideas are exactly the same. If you don't want to use the rolling hills to your advantage, you can push down this road here. I wouldn't recommend it. Even though you are safe at the start of it, the reason why I don't recommend it is once you get to this area, it's quite hard to pretty much do anything. This right road is a rough one, unless there's nobody on the other side. This is also a rough one because you're open to the left side. You're also open to whatever's coming over the hills, which stuff will come over those hills. And also, you feel, the way I would picture it, right? So you feel like here, you are in a kind of little valley, so a little gully, so you feel like you're safe from either side. The issue is, people will be able to see you all the way down here, because binos exist and they'll also be able to hear you. So you may think you're safe in this area, so let's say you push around and you're like, oh, I wonder what's over here. Bam, there's going to be somebody who's just waiting. And this will happen over and over and over again if you take this road. And if you clear all the corners, if you push through, you can be, you know, useful, but the issue is once you get down this road, what do? Well, you can spawn camp. Okay, fine. We've already talked about Fulda Gap. The most important thing is the first engagement over everything else. Now, on other maps, the first engagement is also incredibly important, but you can make arguments for the secondary engagements being important too. In this one, it is pretty much primary engagement, and that's really about it. The castle is a fun place to fight around, but I generally would say avoid it unless there is a point on top of it, or you like the little sniper spot which is present up here. I personally don't. I think it's kind of a waste of time, just because you can expose yourself quite a lot by sitting here. So from this area, as you can see, you can kind of see B, and you can also see over the rolling hills. It takes too long to get here though for it to be useful in a rank 6 or rank 5 match. And if we go over here, then yes, you have some absolutely lovely castle work. It looks beautiful. And you also have this position here, where, once again, you can look over C. You need pretty good gun depression, but with something like this, you can use ATGMs to easily hit stuff. At the same time, there's that hole there, so you can pretty much see anything that's advancing down here, and if you want to hit them, you can hit them. So let's say that hay bale has done you wrong, you can hit it in the face. And generally, with ATGMs or, you know, stuff like APFS DS, this is quite a nice position. I just feel like it takes way too long to get here, and influencing the battle around the points is quite hard to do. So yeah, it's a nice place if you want to fight around the castle. I just personally think it's kind of a waste of time. Don't flip. Oh, close but no cigar. You also have these two open breaches, so you have one here, and then you have one on the other side. This means that unless you're up on the ramparts, you are pretty open to the elements when it comes down to it. So generally, I like staying away from this just because you have so many entrances and exits to the castle, it's impossible to cover all of them. Which is why it's kind of nice when a domination zone is put around it, but it's still kind of annoying because of that if you're trying to defend it. So let's go down to C, or around C. Hello T28. I don't know why my MBT's like stuck in a high gear. So one of the key points around C may be kind of counterintuitive, because it's not really around C, but it, you know, it kind of is, I suppose. But it's this road here, and I haven't seen a lot of players exploit this yet, but you can get here quickly. As you can see, there is literally a road from both spawns straight to here, a heavy road, and from here, what you'll find is by the time... Let's just try and reverse in time. By the time you get to about this point on the green side, you can guarantee that there will be a pink guy around here, or there'll be a pink guy down by C somewhere. So if you actually win this initial battle around... It's amazing how you can take such a large map, and one of the smallest components of it can make such a large difference. But let's say you win the initial battle, and there is just somebody sat here, you take them out, you have complete control of C. So because of this little area here, because of this little road, it pretty much covers you. And if there are no tanks advancing up this road and you win the initial battle, from this area on both sides, because that is the hill, and on both sides there is a hill going down, so let's say you sit here, compared to this point, you have complete control of C, because you can look over it from this area, you can take a shot, and then you can move back. So we'll go into that more once we get into the battle. I'm sorry about this, but there's literally nothing I can do about it. And I want to do this all in one take, because I have all of my ideas written down. It's just, it's a trick of the trade, and right now I'm trying to just, you know, focus on other things, so therefore I don't want to waste somebody's time and just make them sit in a battle while I talk about stuff. Maybe in the future if there are new maps. Hopefully we get that Italian village map at some point, that'll be fun. But anyway, let's go here. So we'll take that road again, we'll talk about that position, and then we'll talk about C in general. We've talked about A and B, we've talked about general things on the map, the fact that it's very light terrain, so it's a very maneuverable map, the fact that it's probably the map where the first initial strike is one of the most important in the game because it's so large. The fact that it is large, it's nice to see a larger map in the game, and I mean a really big map. And it's also nice to see that when I first talked about this map, I said if they put like one of the spawns in the northwest corner and one in the southeast, we're going to have real issues because of the hill advantage. But luckily, they put them more like northeast and southwest, so it's not that big of a deal. So if we push up here, now there are more efficient ways to get to this road. I'm just doing it to get to it to go along it. If you want, you follow this path here, so you don't have to go up much of a hill and you can just get straight onto it. But by the time you get to the position I showed before, over there, the enemy team will not have pushed up enough to for you to really worry about it. So let's go down this road. One of the saddest things about this map while we're on this road, just moving down it, is the fact that you have this beautiful bridge, and it's completely useless. Like, because it doesn't link two domination points together, it leaves you way too open to the elements, like people attacking you and stuff, but it's such great architecture and lovely to see. It's just really sad that it's not something that's ever really going to be used. And also the wind farms are a nice touch. Kind of random, but you know, why not? You can't destroy them, but it is how it is. There we go. So from this position, the place where you want to watch while going down this road is obviously back here, down the forest lines. From the pink side, you can actually take something like the 9 road or the 10 road and just go straight through the forest and end up near sea and just wait around there. There are some actual nice banks like around this area that you can sit around and just watch sea and watch the this bit over here. But generally what will happen is the guys with the altitude advantage or the hill advantage will win the battle. So yeah, but anyway, we're back to that point where we talked about before, you know, pushing around this area. And if you just like hold here or hold around here, wait for somebody to come over the bluff, smash them in the face, and then win this initial battle, and make sure they have no support more coming over the hill, because sometimes you will run into the squads. You don't have to worry about anybody coming from the castle, because unless they push through, nothing's going to happen. From this area, you can just look at sea and cover it completely. You can also look at the positions over here, which I talked about, where, as you can see, there's like a little dip here, like right back here. People will sit behind that, and you do have to be wary of it. So, yeah, that's just something to be wary of, that little dip. Just basically, like here. Yeah, you can see how the ATGM actually dipped below the line there. Yeah. That's something you've got to be wary of. So from a position like this, you have cover from this side because of all the trees. You also have cover of the hill, and you can just cover sea. And therefore, just take out everybody who's trying to push sea. Once you've taken them out, you can just roll down the hill. You never really want to be the first guy on sea, I don't think. I don't think that's the way to go. I think it's much better to play defensively and wait for the enemy to exhaust their resources. But as I said, you can do this on this side of the map as well. If you don't want to take this initial fight and you just kind of want to sit here, then you can do that. It is a little bit harder to do from this side, but basically you just sit around this point. You cover yourself from the head. You do have some trees in the way, but there are little snippets that you can shoot through, as you can see already. So you just shoot through them, like here or here. Use your binos. You can also shoot anybody who's advancing onto sea through the forest over there. And yeah, you just sit on the hill and wait. I mean, why not? A lot of people I've found sit up here. Did you really just miss me? Take that as a lesson. A lot of people sit up at this point, and a lot of people sit up at this point. So if you are deciding to push sea, you do have to worry about those areas. The reason why an area like this is so effective is because of an easy pivot. You can sit up there and you can pivot to look at B, and you can pivot to look at C. So you'll find a lot of people will sit around those areas, especially stuff which is very good hull down, so T-64As, Chieftain, Mark 10s. So that's something that will happen and something you've got to keep an eye on. It's also an easy position to get to from the spawn, so a lot of slower tanks will just sit on it and wait. But if you're in a kind of nippy tank, you want to fight where I'm showing. Also, just as a little tidbit, the hay bales you can actually push. Now, this isn't something that really matters that much, but it's one of those nice little things. So, as you can see, you can give them a little shove, and it's one of those things. One of those things where I like War Thunder. You can only push them for a little bit, but it's still cool. Like, there we go. Just a little tap. You can make them roll down the hill if you feel like it, if you hit them with enough force. There we go. But yeah, that's pretty much the map analysis. Just stay away from C unless it's fully clear. You don't really want to get yourself into a valley until you know the whole thing's clear, so use this road to a fight on it. Castle is not a no-go zone, but it is a place where it's quite hard to influence the map. I love the rolling hills in the center. They are great if you want to try and push forward. It's generally not my playstyle, but I can see it being really useful. Be careful of this area. It can be incredibly great, but it can also just nail your team if you go there with a squad and, you know, you just get outflanked. Follow the 1 road, follow the 9 and 10 roads, get around the sides, flank, use those areas up here around A, and you're going to have a great time. It's a great map, and really nice, and I understand why people say it's too large. I just personally don't think so. I think a map like this just suits a different type of tank. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.